What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry and
Kim Teshima
here for another Ginger Runner Live. Finally able to start this thing. This is the official start to the show, episode number 52. Of course, it would happen on the 1-year anniversary of Ginger Runner Live that all technical issues just started to shit the bed. That is just something apparently that is bound to happen 1 year later after doing 52 fairly reasonably perfect shows. Thank you guys for tuning in live. Very, very excited for tonight's show because, yes, it's the 1-year anniversary of Ginger Runner Live, which I'm excited about. But it is also the episode we get to talk to Kim about the Orcas Island 50K, which took place this last week. And I was there filming.
I was there slogging through the mud.
But we're going to talk all about it because it is a race that deserves to be talked about. A lot of other races took place this weekend, which I want to mention as well. But sit back, grab your beers or your libations, whatever they might be, adult or childlike, and get ready for Ginger Runner Live episode number 52. It's going to be a good one now that the tech issues have been worked out. Ginger Runner. Yay! What is up, everybody? Thank you for sticking around for the beginning of the show. A bit of technical issues, but all of those are now dealt with, and we're just gonna kind of push through the show. How are you doing?
Doing good. I have my beer. I'm happy to be here to celebrate your 1-year anniversary of Ginger Runner Live.
Yeah, we even have a live audience here of our lovely host, Justin and Destiny, who you've met on the show before, who ran their Destiny ran her first marathon, and Justin ran one of his many marathons this last year. We had him on an earlier episode. They have graciously allowed us to use their new high-speed internet in their living room. I did have some of the Ginger Runner greatest hits from the last year on the screen behind us, but I think that might have influenced the internet signal since it was pulling from my YouTube stream. So we shut that down. So as much as I'd like to have that effect back there, I didn't want to mess anymore with that. So you have your beer?
Yep, I have Trailhead ISA.
Very good.
Beers Brewing Company.
Yeah, it's from Seattle. And this is from someone I met this weekend for the first time, a viewer, a Ginger Runner Live viewer and a fan. His name is Kyle Weigand. I think it's just Weigand. Really, really nice dude, and actually brought this with him all the way up to Orcas Island for me to partake in. It is a Moon underwater brewery.
I love the can.
Light side of the moon session lager. The can is awesome, and it tastes just as awesome. Go Hawks!
Cheers! Congrats on 1 year.
Thank you, and congrats to you on a pretty tough, brutal weekend. Not easy.
It was not.
How are you feeling today, Monday, a couple days after?
I mean, as a spoiler, I obviously DNF'd, which probably most of you guys know. So I'm still feeling the sting of that, but I'm still happy overall with how the weekend played out.
Yeah.
Came out a little injured, but it's all right. I can't complain.
I have to say that I'm really, really proud of you because DNFing is not an easy thing to do. I want to get through the specifics of your race, obviously, but also kind of I want to talk about just the race in general because there's a lot of stuff to talk about with this particular 50K. But I need to give you some major props on dealing with injury, dealing with sickness, regardless, starting the race and pushing through and managing to get the mileage that you got through on one of the toughest courses that I've ever experienced. Not that I was running, but even just witnessing. So congrats to you.
Thank you.
And I did go to Orcas Island the intention this whole year was to race it, but because of the ankle sprain, which is still recovering, I was unable, but I wasn't about to pass up the opportunity to cheer Kim on. She's done it multiple times for me, return the favor, and also make a film out of it and kind of showcase this race because next year is going to be nuts, obviously. I want to help get the word out about the race and see how many of you out there have what it takes to race it. So before we get started with the recap from Kim, I need to shank. So, a little prison shanking going on. I need to thank Rain Shadow Running for getting us up there and taking care of us and just being a really, really cool crew that puts on pretty brutal, amazing, beautiful races around the Northwest. The Oregon Coast 50K is a Rain Shadow race. The Orcas Island, the Gorge 50K and 100K are Rain Shadow races. So thanks to them. Thanks to Kyle for the beer. Thanks to all of you guys who are tuning in live now and who have tuned in live every Monday for the last year.
You guys are incredible.
I enjoy doing the live stream because I get to sit down and kind of chat with you guys and also talk to people who are better runners than me and get information and try to get as much information soaking up like a sponge to help my running. And it's just been fun. And it's been awesome to meet a lot of you guys as well. And I also have to congratulate some people who did amazing things this weekend at races. Dylan Bowman, Jorge Maravilla, Mike Wardian, former guests of the show who went out at Tarawera 100K and killed it. Dylan Bowman, first place. He was on a recent episode. Incredible day.
Yeah.
He was on a recent episode, and we talked briefly about Tarawera, about how he was going to kind of approach it, and it was his first race of the season. And he also had an ankle sprain at one point, and he's just been killing it. He went out there and just clobbered it.
Yep.
First place, incredible.
Fast dude. Really
fast. Same with Wardian and Jorge, who we have not had on the show yet, but is a friend of mine, and I'm waiting for him to come on this show. Him and Brett, San Francisco Running Company. They'd be great guests. I have to congratulate them. And the Sean O'Brien 100K, 50K, 50 miler, 26.2. That was this weekend. Kira, a former guest of mine, is the race director of those, and she apparently had an amazing weekend. All of the racers did a fantastic job down there.
I need to get in and do one of our races.
Oh, it's worth it. Totally worth it. Yeah. So big thanks and big shout outs to all those guys and gals. All right, let's talk about your race.
All right.
Give us the lowdown.
Well, just to kind of set up the race, like the pre-race, not to be a whiner, but I had the flu really, really bad, followed by a chest infection. So in the 4 weeks leading up to the race, I ran a total of 2.4 miles.
Good taper. That's a real good, simple taper.
A major force taper. I was really stressed and really unhappy with it. But regardless, I mean, I was registered for Orcas Island 50, and I just wouldn't be me if I didn't at least start. I knew what I was getting in for. The race, I mean, they tell you it really shouldn't be your first 50K. Like it's a difficult race. It's beautiful, but it's difficult. Like there's just some relentless climbing and but yeah, I mean, I decided I would just give it a go, and that's what I did.
Yeah. So you traveled to come to Orcas Island. Orcas Island is this, it's actually bigger than I remember, but it's an island off the coast of Washington State. It is a part of Washington State, but the mainland, it's off the coast of the mainland. And you have to take a ferry. It's about a 45-minute ferry ride out there. And I grew up going camping there every summer with my family. And I just remember it being lush forests. There's a big mountain on it, but there's actually a couple mountains, a big mountain called Mount Constitution. And I just have all these amazing memories from this island growing up, going there camping and stuff as a kid. So when I heard that they were doing, this race has been going on there actually for a long time, years and years. So when I finally actually heard that this race existed, it was a no-brainer. I needed to sign up as soon as possible. And Kim also signed up with me because she knew that she wanted to do an ultra, and this was going to be your second ultra, and you're going to work up to it, do all the training and stuff. Nothing will really prepare you for this race. This year in particular, the weather was not cooperating. So they split the race up into 2 weekends, a 25K one weekend and then the 50K the weekend after, because the island can't necessarily accommodate all
600 runners plus all their support.
Yeah. Because the ferries can only accommodate a certain number of cars and passengers, and then the hotels around the island, there's not a ton of them, and camping and stuff like that. So the 50K or the 25K weekend was beautiful and sunny.
The weather last weekend or the weekend before was just, it was like the perfect running weather. Kind of cool, but dry, sunny, beautiful, crystal view. Yeah.
Just, you look at the pictures from Glenn from that race, and it's incredible. So we were hoping for the same weather this last weekend, but it didn't behave. And in fact, Friday was actually okay. A little rainy, but mostly dry later in the day. But then Saturday was just, the clouds opened up, and it was a never-ending stream of rain and mush. And
I'm okay with that. I
run
in that all the time. I dealt with it in Oregon. But I think the difference for me, or for a lot of people that I talked to actually after the race, is that in races like Oregon, you're kind of dealing with that really bad mud. for a really isolated amount of time.
Right.
It just was all day. Every piece of trail you touched was like that. So
what did you think was probably the most difficult part of the day? Was it the mud and the rain, or was it the actual terrain?
Well, there's a couple things that were kind of more difficult for me. The first big climb is going up a paved road up Mount Constitution. And that, I don't know, I just had a tough time with that. It kind of messes with your mind because it's a twisty road and you're going around these corners thinking, is this when I'm going to end up on the trail? Is this like, this has to be it. This has to be it. You kind of feel like you're running up the road forever.
Right.
So by the time I got to the top, I was pretty tired, as I'm sure everybody was. The second kind of thing that was hard for me, I do better with downhill running. That's kind of my stronger area of running. That's kind of where I can make up my time, and that's where I have a good time. It was just really, really hard to get any kind of speed going downhill because it was just so muddy that you were just kind of looking for the next tree to hang on to, or like the next spot that you could kind of put your foot in that you wouldn't actually wipe out. There was a lot of carnage out there.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned that yet. We'll talk about that towards the results of this race. There's a lot of carnage out there. Yeah, a lot. Okay, yeah. So when I was out there filming, the first thing that I had to deal with, which isn't remotely close to what the runners had to deal with, but all my camera equipment was pretty much soaking wet from the get-go.
Yeah.
Didn't matter how many layers of plastic I wrapped around them, and you guys obviously would wrap yourselves in jackets, but everything was going to get wet.
Yeah.
You're in old growth forests that are dripping water already, and then you have the rain, which is dumping, plus the mud, plus the puddles, plus the rivers and creek crossings.
Yeah.
You are going to be muddy, wet, and just uncomfortable all day. So all the camera equipment and everything is wet. I'm going to show you some clips from the race on tonight's episode, but just be forewarned that a lot of the lenses have water drops on them, and that is just an unfortunate circumstance from the weather. I am still pretty pleased with some of the footage, how it came out, and I can't wait to edit it together. I remember earlier in the show, someone was asking, when is the race video going to be out?
Yeah.
It's been 2 days, and we've been traveling. We just got into this house, so hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I'll be able to drop that. It's going to be my first film of the year. Okay, so when I saw you at around mile 5.5 or 6.
6-ish.
For the first time. You were looking great. Totally in a great headspace.
Just as I came down after the first
after the road climb that you were just talking about, which is, I mean, it's a nasty climb to start a race. You start uphill, probably a good 800-foot climb or 1,000-foot climb. Correct me in the chat room for those of you who ran. Straight up a road, and then you turn around and come right down a technical muddy piece of single track,
which was fun. I mean, and it was beautiful. And I'll be honest, like I train on the North Shore in Vancouver, so I'm around amazing, beautiful trails all the time. There's a number of times on Saturday that I stopped and I was like, I'm on the most beautiful trails I've ever been.
Yeah.
So, regardless of that mud. So so the first, when I was coming down, when I saw you, it was kind of the first real piece of technical downhill. I say technical because it wasn't North Shore technical, but it was the mud and everything made it that much more technical. And that was shortly before Aid Station 1.
And actually, there's a question that's coming through to you from Kima Sub 75. Kim, would it have helped if you had trekking poles with you?
There was a number of people with trekking poles, and I did kind of look at them with little hearts in my eyes at sometimes, thinking maybe I should have poles. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It was, as much as the poles may have helped you kind of dig in at times, they're just, regardless of what kind of shoes you have on, there was just no way to get that footing.
Yeah.
You could see on the trails. I mean, you wouldn't see necessarily footprints going down or uphill. You'd see the big slides of people's shoe marks.
Oh, yeah. I ran some of the trails the next day, and all I saw was remnants of the day before, just the carnage on the trails, that the feet, the hundreds of people's feet and shoes that just tore up the mud. I saw it the next day, and it's like, oh man, people slid this entire route down.
There was times where it was easier to kind of put your feet side by side and just slide down, because it was just quicker than trying to find footing to run down.
Yeah. And I saw a number of people out there while I was filming with poles. A lot of them are using them on the descents more than they were on the ups, because the ups you ended up having to use your hands. No matter how upright the poles allowed you to be, if your feet aren't getting traction, the poles aren't necessarily going to get traction either. So people ended up putting them on their pack and using their hands and knees. And I think one of the clips I'll show today also has that. The first clip I'm going to show is the start. So just a reminder, this is all unedited footage. It is going to be wet and moist and uncolor corrected, and it might not even be the shot I use in the final take, but it is at least something to give you an idea of what happened out there. So there were two start waves, which I think is great. They do an early start, which is about an hour earlier. So for those who are experiencing injury or coming in injured, or they just feel like they're going to take a little bit longer than the cutoff, they allow you to go an hour earlier, which I think is great. This that I'm going to show you is the main start time, which is 8 a.m. So here's that clip. And you can see some of these elite guys ripping down the starting slope. Could barely keep up with them. Granted, I have a sprained ankle, but enjoy.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out there!
Those dudes are fast.
They're fast. So Gary Robbins, who you've seen on the show before, a buddy of mine, was there towards the end of the clip, just right in front of the camera. Andrew Miller, the guy in the white tank top, is up there as well. I didn't get a good look at the other runners, but
a couple of Seven Hills guys.
A couple of Seven Hills running guys. I did the show from their shop last week, so you might have seen them on last week's episode. Just flying. But here's the thing. They didn't slow down at all during the race. Anytime I saw them, that was how fast they were running. And that blows my mind. Because I would be with my camera filming some people at one section, and maybe there was a trail that intersected that section with the elite or the front pack running through. So I would turn my camera to grab them, and before I could even turn, they'd be gone, and there's no way to keep up with them. I wish I had 3 cameramen with me just so I could have one follow the lead pack of men and women, one getting like the mid packers and back of the packers, and then one far ahead at an aid station ready to get the lead pack coming through there, because there was just no way to do all of it. It was absolutely insane. So after I saw you then at aid station 1, right around aid station 1, you continued on through. So going into aid station 1 is a really technical downhill steep descent. You come out of there and you roll along a lakeside. It's a beautiful single track.
I actually ended up running it again yesterday.
You did it, yeah. It's gorgeous. You're running along this lakeside. Glenn Takayama was out there with the camera taking photos. And then you go around the backside of the island and up Mount Pickett, which is on the way to aid station 2. Yeah. So tell me kind of what happened around that area.
I mean, it was just kind of, well, first of all, shortly after I had left aid station 1, the elite men started to fly by us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It wasn't like, I mean, it wasn't like, I say shortly after, I can't really remember the mile marker where we were. But it was really, really cool because you'd be running, and all of a sudden you just hear like splashing in the mud behind you, and you look around, you know, all very, very nice dudes, all, you know, we'd say like, way to go, looking good. And they'd all respond back to us. So that was really cool to kind of see that and witness all the speedy people. I think we might've asked for rides a couple times, but you know, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. No, they never have enough room in their pack.
No, they never have packs.
They never have packs.
So yeah, I mean, the chunk of trail between aid 1 and aid 2, it's beautiful. You run around the lake. You're doing a lot of climbing. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say about it. I think I was starting to feel the frustration a little bit getting towards aid station 2 of not being able to kind of like pick up my speed. I just felt like it was kind of like I was fighting a losing battle at that point, but I was still really happy and having a good time. But I just wasn't really running my fastest. Yeah.
People in the chat room were talking about, Vincent brought up a good point about how the trail's getting destroyed and stuff like that. A lot of these trails are mountain bike trails, so they're already pretty wrecked. Yeah. I'm not going to say that having a couple hundred people run on these trails is any good, But at the same point, I don't think having packs of 50 mountain bikers riding down them, you know, thrashing out berms and stuff like that is any good for the trails.
I mean,
it sucks to see so many thrash trails for sure.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say that, like, we went out running yesterday as well, and there was parts where I was running where I was sure I had run the day before, but there was no evidence of the footprints from the day before, and they were all covered up at that point by mountain bike tread.
Yeah,
but I know that rain shadow running, I know they do a lot of trail maintenance, and they take care.
We saw
of their
Carrie
stuff
out there with a shovel the next day, basically
Yeah.
flattening out some of the ground and stuff. So they do their diligence.
Yeah, they're definitely responsible for whatever happens out there.
Yeah,
So,
and then there was also talk of bloody nipples, which if you deal with bloody nipples during wet and rainy races, there are solutions to that, whether you do athletic tape across the nipples or Band-Aids or Vaseline. You know, there's lots of different treatments. I know that I've suffered from them multiple times, but then I figured out that Band-Aids work great for me. So that's one solution, or duct tape, and then worry about that.
I don't have that.
No,
I'm good.
You don't have it.
There was a couple questions about my hair and if that played a
Oh,
role.
yeah.
Actually, people like to talk about my hair a lot. There's actually quite a few women runners that I actually see now running with their hair down. I run with my hair down probably 95% of the time in my backwards hat. It works for me. So
yeah,
I don't.
The only issue that I've seen that you've had was after the Oregon Coast 50K when you had the nest, like at the end of the film, it's just a nest of hair. But that was also because of the rain, the wind,
like the salt,
the dry
water,
heaving, like everything contributed to that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm running out of battery. I have 5%. So look at this. Yeah, my plug is over there. I was an idiot and didn't plug it in. Talk about the injury part, Kim.
Yeah. So as we've been talking about, the trails are really muddy. And when I say really muddy, I mean like you're stepping down and your foot is getting completely submerged in mud, and the mud is going over your shoe, into your shoe, and you go to move your foot and your shoe gets sucked off your foot. Like, it was muddy. After aid station 2-ish, so that was mile 14.6
or something, yeah.
like that. I was kind of running along, and I'd been slipping and sliding the whole day, and I was running, and I took a step with my left foot, and instead of doing kind of the slipping forward or back as I had been doing all day, it went in towards my body horizontally. I kind of braced myself funny to not fall, and I kind of immediately felt like that's the best way I can describe it. It felt like a twisting sensation like deep inside my knee. So after that point, unfortunately, I was just having a difficult time, mostly with the downhills. There was a point where I was running with my good friend Diana, and she's like, you're hopping, you need to stop. So I was doing my best to put like zero weight on that left leg. So just, it kind of destroyed me at that point. I mean, I was able to do the climbing. The climbing was okay. I was still doing the power hiking thing, and I was still managing fine. But just like running the flats, even with the amount of slipping and sliding that was going on after that point, I was just more hesitant, and there was zero like safe places to put your feet, you know? And I think I just kept playing in my head, like, if it slips the other way, or if I, whatever, but
I saw Rizzo the cat back on the floor.
Oh, Rizzo. So at that point I was kind of experiencing some IT band stuff and some inner knee stuff. Downhills were just impossible. So I ended up kind of walking, hiking, doing that kind of thing, like, jogging along for a couple minutes and then taking a break and walking and trying to stretch the knee out and try and take care of myself that way.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, getting close to the third aid station, which is mile 20.6 or 4 or something like that, I had gone through various scenarios in my head. I knew what was coming up next. So right after the third aid station is the big power line climb.
Yes.
And it's a big climb.
It's about 2,000 feet in 2 miles-ish. I mean, it's nasty and in muddy conditions, and it's not switchback climbing; it's straight
up.
So you actually get a lot of the elevation in one section, then you come back down and go back up. So it's pretty nasty.
So I was more concerned at that point of coming down. So in my mind, I thought, well, I can probably, you know, I've been really working on my climbing this last 6 months, and like I can probably get up there, but coming down the risk was too high. I think
I think it's a smart decision.
Yeah.
As someone who has a sprained ankle currently and is trying to heal from it, I probably could have hiked this race and finished, or just done really, really poorly time-wise, but gotten it done. But the last thing I wanted to do was cause further injury or keep myself from racing at all for the rest of the year, because the races that I have coming up are detrimental to future racing. You know, Western States qualifier, my first 100, stuff like that this year that plays a big role in my mind mentally. I can't be injured for. So for you to make the decision, something is tweaked, something could be injured. You don't want to, you know, what you have ahead of you in this race is not going to be good for these particular circumstances. So
I just kind of had to,
right decision.
I had to go into self-preservation and just like walk it out. And that meant slowing down to a crawl, unfortunately, in the last few miles. And, you know, it kind of is what it is. I probably could have tried to push and tried to run hard on that knee, but for me, I need to, and for every runner, and like what Ethan was just saying, like you have to look at the bigger picture. I'm not in this to win prize money. I'm not going to podium. You know, I want to run another day. We have the Gorge coming up at the end of March.
I have Quicksilver, Cascade Crest. You have a number of races coming up this year that you're excited to run, from road marathons to regular ultras as well.
You just have to make those decisions. You have to make the smart decision. As much as, like, you know, I really wanted to finish on Saturday, I would rather race 10 more races healthy.
You got 20 miles in on a terrible day on a beautiful but rugged and brutal course. That's good. Good job.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You did it extremely well.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I've said it a number of times since Saturday, like DNF and all, I'm pretty happy with what happened overall. The trails were some of the most beautiful ones. And near the beginning, and I will say this, and I said it to James, the race director, near the beginning, when I was running up that concrete hill, I was saying, this is enough to make me never do this ever again. But by, you know, a couple miles later, I was telling my friend Dan, I'm like, coming back next year.
Oh yeah. And now you're a couple days removed. You going back?
Oh yeah.
Good. I'll see you there.
It's just
I'll see you there.
Beautiful. I'll see
you there.
Okay.
You want to go together?
We're probably saving travel expenses.
All right, that's cool.
Can I come?
That's the cat talking. That was the cat.
That was herself.
Yeah, there's gonna be a nice big party there next year for sure. Justin, you better come.
You got it.
My parents came this last weekend, so I told my family, "Hey, I'm racing the Orcas Island 50K." This is months ago. I'm racing the Orcas Island 50K. Really excited. Kim's coming. We're both racing. Since we used to go there as a kid, it'd be really cool if you guys wanted to come out and support. And my whole family rallied behind me. And about a month ago, they were like, "We got a house. We're all coming. My sister and her kids, and my parents, and my brother and his kid. Like, everyone is coming." So I was like, "Oh, this is amazing." Snap ankle. Mom, Dad, whole family, you guys don't have to come because I can't race. And regardless, my parents and the whole family was like, "No, we're coming. We got to support Kim, and we want to volunteer." So my parents volunteered at Aid Station 20, where you had to drop.
Yeah.
And it was tough because they all day were waiting for you to come through, and my sister and her husband were there, and everyone was waiting. So excited to see Kim, and it was pretty emotional for you.
It was emotional. It was really hard coming in, and the first person I saw was your brother-in-law, Dale, and he kind of looked at me and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," like, you know. But when I got up to your parents and the rest of your family, it was emotional, but it was the cutest thing, because your little nephew came up to me and like looks at my legs and he's like, "Why are you so dirty?" Like, it was really adorable.
I pooped my pants.
You did?
No. Oh. I mean, I did. I just did. Yeah.
But it's always nice to have it's like have family or familiar faces on any kind of race like that. It means more than they may know, but like it really means everything. Like even if it's just you and I at a race, knowing I'm going to see you or knowing, you know, it's a huge deal. And
it was cool. There's a lot of Northwest Ginger Runner live viewers and fans of the show and fans of the content and stuff like that were there. It's really cool to meet all of them. I know that you got a number of shout outs as people ran by, or like you ran up to them and people were like recognizing you.
Yep.
It's awesome. And this is a really good indication of how many people kind of rally behind the whole trail running community and kind of this whole experience. We kind of becoming almost a family in a way. And there was a Tommy, a buddy Tommy, he's a viewer and he's from the East Coast and he made the trip all the way out. And in my mind, I was like, man, logistically, Orcas Island is not the easiest race to get to because you got to fly into Seattle, then you got to drive to Anacortes, then you got to take a ferry to Orcas Island and figure out how to get to wherever your accommodations are on the island. So it's definitely a difficult race to organize, just transportation and getting there logistically.
Yeah.
But if any of you guys are watching from around the world, this is a destination race that is worth attending. It will kick your ass and you will earn that finish. It's
not an easy race. No. So do your research if you're thinking about doing it, but it's absolutely worth making the trip to the island.
Yeah. And Robbie, this is actually a really good point. Robbie Run says, perhaps you needed to have the family time versus the trail time. Couldn't agree more. While I was filming the race, so I didn't actually get to spend much of the time with my family during the race because I was working. I got to actually enjoy the weekend without the stress of a race, whether starting the next morning. So Friday, we actually got to spend time with my family and it was really kind of cool to relax and not have to worry about it. Kim was able to organize all of her stuff and get ready for the race. And I was able to talk with the family and kind of catch up. And that day was just really, I mean, I didn't have the stress of the race. So I think that's a good point. I actually got to enjoy the family time, which is really neat. Before I forget, I have more clips. So we talked briefly about where I saw you. The very first time I saw Kim. So she ran up this road section and down this technical, steep, muddy section. And someone else in the chat room also mentioned that the reason the front group was running so fast was because they had groomed trails, or they didn't have to worry about all the feet trudging it up and stuff like that. That was not the case.
They were behind us.
Because the lead group actually started behind the first hour group.
Yeah.
Anyone could have started an hour earlier. They just couldn't place. So pretty much more than half of the racers decided to run the earlier start because why not? If you're not in contention for a top 3 spot, male or female, then there's no
advantage of that extra hour.
Take advantage of the extra hour. So for a majority of the race, I would say that just being in the front didn't have its advantage as far as trail conditions were concerned. Regardless, where I ran into you, this is that section.
Just like a funny little side note.
Yeah.
Right before I ran into you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Diana and I were running. We were so excited to have our first downhill, kind of fun, muddy, technical, and we were running, and we both kind of looked at each other and we're like, "Are we going the right way?"
Yeah. And
we stopped in our tracks and stood in the bushes for a minute, just kind of looking around, and we both we haven't seen a flag in a while, and we thought, should I go back up? And then out of the corner of my eye, I just happened to catch you're wearing something red or black, red and black or something. And I was like, Ethan's right there. Anyways, we were going the right way. You
guys had it. You guys were on the right track. John says, you need to race out here in Virginia. We have great trail races. I've only heard amazing things from multiple people on the East Coast. It is a goal to get out to the East Coast. I was talking to the Tommy, who came from the East Coast this weekend to run a West Coast race, and he got his ass kicked. He finished incredibly well, but still said there is nothing like that on the East Coast. So as much as I want to get out to the East Coast, hopefully travel budget becomes something that Ginger Runner can actually afford. So we can get out there and race more of those. That's the only thing keeping it from happening, because travel, hotel, food, rental car, all that, it's just it all adds up, right? Okay, so here's that section that I was talking about when I ran into Kim for the first time. There's a road section going up and there's a trail section coming down. Enjoy. Oh, come on. There we go. Nice job. A little slippery. Nice job, boys. Have fun.
It's just so beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Just watching that, I'm like,
It's like running through fairyland. Even watching these clips back, it just doesn't. I have yet to be able to capture just how steep some stuff is. This wasn't necessarily a steep section. I'm going to show you some steep stuff in a bit, and hopefully that kind of captures it. The perspective and the angle of camera, it's always going to be difficult to capture steepness.
Yeah.
Unless you're going sideways where you can see the exact angle of slant, then unfortunately, you know, aiming down or aiming up just looks like a flat plane. And the only way you can gauge steepness is by calf angle, foot angle, or anything like that. So I'm working on making sure you guys know just how steep some of this stuff is. That's pretty much it. There has been talk in the chat room about carnage. We mentioned it earlier. So there was a lot. This is not an easy race because there's about 8,900 feet of elevation in the 50K, that's tough. That's pretty nasty.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes in 2 or 3 major climbs. So it's not like, oh, it's 8,900 feet over the course of 50K. It's actually 8,900 feet over the course of 2 miles here, 2 miles here, and 2 miles here.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that the runners are kind of talking about consistently throughout the day, is like everything kind of felt like it came in big chunks. Climbing for big chunks, you're going downhill for big chunks. Like there was no like, or very little of that.
Yeah, there's very little of that. There's very little respite.
Yeah.
Running some of the trails yesterday, just trying to catch up and get a run in at all. The sections that I ran that I was like, oh, this is beautiful. It's nice and flat and runnable. They weren't even part of the course because all the sections that were in the course were nasty, just steep, both directions. There was talk of who were these guys that were in that video. This wasn't the front pack. This was just a couple back from the front pack. It was all, I would say, top 10. But you saw a buddy of mine, Corey Conga, was in there.
Anthony Lee is in the chat room.
Oh.
And he said, Masazumi, me, and Corey Conga in that video.
Yep, that's Anthony Lee. I met him also at Orcas, a fan of the show. Really, really nice dude. And finished top 10. I believe he was 10th place or something. Anthony, congratulations, man. You did incredibly well. And every time I saw him out there, he was just like, what up? Like super happy. I don't even know if he got phased at all during the whole race. But that was him with Corey, and they were blasting through, doing pretty good pace. I know you guys you were sub 6 for sure. I think you were even sub 5:30. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony. Whatever your time was, you guys were all pretty much ahead of that, which is incredible on this course. The winning time was in fact 4:28, which is 4 minutes off of last year's time, winning time, by the same individual who is a teenager, Andrew Miller, who you saw in that starting line video where he blasts off with the white Solomon tank top. That's him. And he led the entire race. Every time I was waiting with my camera to capture the lead pack coming through, you would hear him before you see him because there's so many trees and there's so many hills and logs and stuff that you couldn't see more than 20 feet away, right, from any particular point with the view. So anytime I'd see him, I'd be like, oh, there he is. And I'd pull out my camera and pull out the lens cap and pop it out, and he'd already be gone. That happened at one section in Power Line where I was filming people climb up Power Line, and it touches a part of the downhill track. And I saw him in the corner of my eye. So I turned the camera to follow him, and I follow him down towards the finish line. He has about 5 miles, or I'm sorry, at that point, probably 4 miles before he hits the finish line. So I raced down Power Line, got in my car, drove to the finish line. He beat me by 10 seconds, 30 seconds.
You on his feet.
He beat me on his feet to get to the finish line. And I drive like a bat out of hell. So that's just testament to the kid's speed.
Anthony Lee's time, 5:04.
Which is incredible.
Dude,
that's fast. How tight the whole top 10 was. 4:28 to 5:04. It's within 32 minutes or whatever. For 36, I guess is what it would be. Within 36 minutes, you have the top 10 finishers. Imagine that on a dry track. I would deduct 15 to 20 minutes, probably. I would imagine that Andrew Miller, the winner, would easily have broken the course record if it was a dry track, because he was flying in those muddy conditions. You just can't get grip in some sections. That's just going to slow you down. So we're talking about carnage, broken wrists, leg punctures, stitches, multiple occasions of these things. I don't have all the exact stats. I'm waiting to hear back from James regarding DNF rate, all sorts of things, because this race, it took its toll on people.
I know. I think at the third aid station, I think the buzz was that there was at least 30 people that DNF'd at that point,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's 10% just at that mileage point.
And I mean, just looking at runners and stuff, I would say probably about half of people had mud marks up and down them.
Oh yeah.
So
people hit the ground.
There's people saying, "Oh, well, this is my third fall. Like, it's no big deal."
Yeah. And I had multiple questions of, well, how did this compare to North Face that I ran? 2 miles of North Face. Is that my phone? It sure is. Or my phone or my laptop. 2 to 3 miles of North Face was really muddy and slippery. And I tried to show that in the film that it was, that's where I went down. It was a fairly short section. Everything else was actually in pretty good shape despite the storm. 99.9% of Orcas Island was that nasty. So 30 miles essentially was just messy.
I mean, and this is something I said as well when I was running that day. Is like, you know, as much as I'm like, oh, it's still raining. Like, I can't believe it's still raining.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really like that extra added element of some sort of
We talked
difficulty.
about
I don't know
that,
if it's
yeah.
just like, I don't think it's just me, but
Yeah.
there's something about doing something with that extra difficulty or the extra, you know.
I wish I had run only to experience the hard race in even harder conditions. I really wish I could have that tack on my headboard.
Notch on the
bedpost. What am I thinking of? Notch in the buckle. Is that what notch in the belt?
That's
Yeah, notch in the
totally
belt.
different.
That's better than a notch in the bedpost because that means I had sex on Orcas Island with the island itself.
Those whales
It
are
was
pretty
muddy.
sexy.
It was also really muddy. Okay, so speaking of carnage, I got this incredible clip. I don't know the runner's name. I'm sure someone watching is actually, oh, I know that guy.
Well, hang on. People are noticing Destiny casually taking a nap in the background.
Oh no, I'm taking cat pictures.
This is Destiny's son. It's her house.
Oh, no.
She's taking pictures of Rizzo the cat, who you see right here.
And she just
Just
rolled
casually.
out of frame.
I didn't know it was on.
Sorry.
It's a wide angle lens.
It's a wide angle lens. Anything out from this point, from the 12 back. You can stay back there. That's fine. There's Rizzo. You can kind of see him. Rizzo the cat. So just speaking of carnage, I captured this on camera.
Just watch.
Just watch.
Oh.
Ow. Full on. The guy jumped on a log, put his foot on the log, slipped, and landed flat on his face. It was not easy to watch. I basically go, whoa, dude, you all right? And he goes, yeah. Just smiles and runs along. And then, 30 feet later, I see him kind of go, ugh. But then there's a huge flight of stairs that he has to grind up. I want to see that again. But I need to edit the shot because I realized that it started not quite at the beginning. Oh, no, give me 1 second. I just want to make sure that it does not loop. There we go. Hold and remember position now.
Yeah.
All right, let's try that again. All right, check this out.
Ugh.
Ugh.
I'm telling you, that was all day, every surface.
I just happened to capture one moment of it. Guys seemed to be fine. Ran on. I'm pretty sure he finished. My log has something to tell you. It was tough to watch, but he was smiling when he ran by, and I'll be sure to include the clip in the final film. So you guys got a nice little teaser of what's to come. I didn't get any footage of any broken bones or any blood or anything like that. Fortunately, that was probably the nastiest thing I actually got captured on camera, but it was not a pleasant experience, that's for sure, for some people out there.
Yeah, and you can kind of see, you kind of got a little taste of like him coming down the hill and seeing him kind of bracing and sliding.
Yeah.
Like that kind of gave a little idea of what.
It's a 20-foot long hill. It's nothing, and there's lots of them, but one slip, and he just happened to jump on the log rather than over the log because the log was in the middle of a stream. You could see the splash. You couldn't see the water. It's a stream right there. So he had to jump onto the log to jump back onto land. But unfortunately, the log wasn't obviously dry or grippy. So he ended up
Every
slipping.
surface was like that.
Ugh. I give him
And-
props for not putting his hands out like that and catching the wrist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna call out my good friend that I was running with, Diana. She was running ahead of me, and she's running, and she's like kind of reckless running downhill. And all of a sudden, I just see her feet just go whoop, whoop, and she just falls right on her butt and then slides. And then she's like, oh, and kind of laugh, and she stands up and whoop.
Does it again. Yeah, people up, people down.
Like just standing still on some of those trails was just enough to just wreck you.
Yeah. So we haven't even talked about probably the most difficult part of the course, which you did not get to experience, thankfully for you. I managed to get some footage from it. It's called Power Line. So this is the climb that everyone talks about regarding this race. Some people forget about it. They don't realize exactly what it is. There's a couple ways to get to the top of Mount Constitution. Mount Constitution is a 2,400-foot mountain right there in the smack dab middle of the island. You start close to zero, probably around 500 feet of elevation, and you climb up a power line trail, which is used as a downhill mountain bike jump fest. You just happen to have a trail that cuts right through the middle, and it is extremely muddy. It is extremely steep and requires all four limbs to ascend. It's renowned. It's talked about every year. This race it's known for it. It is kind of the last big piece of the puzzle before
James
you finish.
also put it at like mile 21.
It starts at like 20.8 or something.
It's like the worst place for that to happen.
And it's about 2.5 miles long, 2,200 feet of elevation or whatever it is. And you get to the top of Mount Constitution, but without working your ass off for it. So this is just some footage that I caught towards the earlier section of that power line climb, because I very little access for me to even get any higher than that without failing to get back in time to catch the finish line, which I obviously wasn't regardless. So here's some of the power line climb. Not easy.
And somebody in the chat room is going, no switchbacks?
No switchbacks.
It is straight up.
It is straight up for the first mile and a half. So basically how it goes is mile and a half up, half mile down, then another mile or so up. And I think maybe that works out that way. And the last section up is steep, but it is switchbacks. I ran down that section yesterday. You can go look at my Strava if you want to see what it's like to descend and then just reverse it. But that small section, which isn't small at all, is pretty much straight up. And I went up there and I filmed. I ran down a little ways and filmed people climbing up it. People were toast by that point. And the trail turned into a river. So it wasn't so much, let's just follow this trail up this line, switching back, forth, and up like that. It was just follow the river. Just climb up the river because you're right in the middle of the riverbed through like 3 inches of water, a waterfall straight down.
It's also the whole idea of having that climb where it is, because at that point, your quads, your calves, like everything is just toast at that point.
Yeah.
You're just mentally exhausted from the rain nonstop.
Yeah.
Tommy in the chat room said 241 finishers according to Ultra Sign Up, and there are 360 plus registered.
Oh yeah, not sure about how many started or yeah, we have DNS and DNF. So I'm going to talk to James and the whole Rain Shadow crew, just kind of find out what the actual percentage was. Not to call on anybody who did not finish or did not start. It's not no individual names. That was just a tough race. I just want to get the percentages because I feel like it was abnormally difficult this year because of the rain and the weather. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a 25 or 35% DNF rate, which is crazy. That's crazy high.
Yeah, I mean, I even talked to a number of runners that are strong runners who didn't make time cutoffs just because the conditions just made it that much harder to get there on time.
Interesting question, Eric. Says, I was thinking if we start a petition to get Ethan an entry in Western states, do you think there would be a chance the organization would accept the documentary and ginger running movies for that purpose? I would say no. I would, want to get into Western states the right way, which is qualifying and being chosen in the lottery. The last thing I would ever want to do is have any sort of special privileges, and I do not think that they would even acknowledge that. That is not something that they do, unless the person has, I don't know, 9 Western state finishes under their belt and they need that 10th one because it's kind of a legendary thing. I wouldn't even if it happened, I would be like, no, I got to earn it. Western States is one of those sacred races. Same with Hard Rock. You got to earn it, and UTMB and CCC and stuff like that. So while I appreciate the sentiment or even the offer, I would much rather do it the right way and do it legally. And that's what I'm trying to do with Quicksilver 100K in 2 months, 3 months. I hope to earn my Western States ticket and then enter the lottery this year for hopeful 2016 entry. So we'll see.
I don't mean to alarm you.
What?
There's somebody that's totally creeping on you in the chat room right now.
Chris Vargo. Chris Vargo in the chat room, taking a break from his hiatus from online to join us tonight. What's up, Vargo? Hope you're having some fun in Flagstaff. Seems like you're getting a lot of schema.
You're taken, right?
Yeah, Chris, this is Kim, my fiance. So, just in case you didn't know that. Nice to see Vargo in the chat room. And thank you for saying I look good. Deeper. Oh, they wanted a deeper V. Sorry, Vargo.
I can make that happen.
No. Any last thoughts on Orcas?
Last thoughts on Orcas? I mean, I also have to thank the Rain Shadow team. They always are just a pleasure to be around, and they host the most amazing races. Yep. I'm, as I said before, I'm happy I started. I wouldn't have really had it any other way, regardless of what I thought my turnout was going to be for it. If you guys have the chance and have the fitness to do this race, absolutely put it on your list. As long as I get in for next year, I'll definitely be there running. And I mean, it's, as I said before, it's some of the most beautiful trails I've ever set foot on. Yeah.
And it's because they're so remote. You're on an island deep out there, so you're not going to get a ton of the touristy foot traffic. I mean, it is during the summer, the island gets really popular, especially with locals. They get out there to go camping and they take advantage of the island atmosphere. But for the most part, you're not going to get a lot of tourists that far out. So it's one of those locations where if you have the opportunity to go there to experience it, especially 30 miles of it, do it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Add it to the calendar, to the bucket list. It's a lot like Squamish in that sense where it's one of those races that you just kind of have to see to believe. And anything I say or Kim can say or any of the people who raced it this weekend who did an incredible job, they will go home with these stories from the race and they will never be able to put it into words. Yeah. And I will do my best to put it into video, but I'm watching these clips I've showed you tonight and gone, well, that wasn't how that actually looked. Like there's just no way to really capture it except being there on your feet in the mud yourself.
On the beautiful muddy single track with bright green moss to both sides.
Fluorescent green.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
So again, thanks Rain Shadow. Thanks to the whole crew.
And like I said, I can only hope to be back next year. I can only hope to be starting with you next year as well.
Yep. I'll be there in 2016. The next race that we have is Gorge, another Rain Shadow race.
And somebody was asking if you knew if you were going to be doing the 100K or
Signed
50K.
Signed up for the 100K. At this point, the ankle is healing. I was able to get some runs in this last week. For those of you who are frequent watchers of Ginger Runner Live, I did get a run in with Ben Gibbard, a former guest from the show. And I was very giddy and nervous and excited. And I got to actually run with Ben Gibbard. And he kicked my ass because I haven't run in a month on this freaking ankle. And what are you thinking?
But
what's going on?
Did you get a hug from Ben Gibbard on the trail?
Yeah.
Was it raining and it was mossy everywhere?
Yeah.
Was there music playing? And
he was playing me a solo. He played me a solo. He pulled out his guitar and played me a solo.
I think they're fighting over Ben Gibbard.
Ben Gibbard's my best friend. We're best friends. No, it was great. So those of you who followed know that I was really excited when he was like, "Hey, we should go for a run sometime," and we actually did, and it was great. He's a great runner, super talented. Really bummed to hear about what happened to him this weekend at Orcas. So that's a bummer. So for those of you who are watching live tonight, I thank you. It is, in fact, the 1-year Ginger Runner Live anniversary. I have to give all of you major thanks. In the coming weeks, there are a lot of things happening on the Ginger Runner side that I cannot wait to share with you. To thank you for the continued support in everything, filmmaking, review-wise, website-wise, supporting both Kim and myself. It's really kind of neat what we all have going on, where you guys can reach out and we can communicate and we can explore new trails together and stuff like that, even virtually. One of the things I'm really excited to announce is these potentially Ginger Runner Train Race beer in Gingy socks. This is a prototype, so this is not the final design or anything like that. It is just to show that it is possible. I'm pretty excited. I've been wearing these just today. I need to actually put them through the actual ringer, make sure that they are up to the Ginger Runner standards before I let you guys get your own pair or 11, however many you want to buy, which I hope is infinity. But this is one step in a direction that I would like to go this year, and I think it will help flesh out the Ginger Runner kit, which I hope most of you are partaking in and collecting.
There are a lot of Ginger Runner buffs out on the trail on Saturday.
So many.
There was a lot.
So awesome. And a lot of people running in the buffs, and then they'll run by me and not realize it's me. And I go, train race beer. And they turn around and go, yeah, train. Oh, it's you. Ah! You know, stuff like that. It's really cool. So that is one item. Another item is custom, fully designed hats. I've teased it on the Instagram at Ethan Newberry. And these hats I am so excited about. These aren't things you can buy in a store. These aren't things that you can go make yourself. These are handmade, designed fabrics, picked out, like full-on graphic design out of this brain. Months of just communicating with different companies and figuring out how to source all the fabrics and stuff like that. And finally, I think we have it dialed. I will get the prototype of it in the next couple of weeks. These are going to be a ways out. So I need to let you know the socks and the hat are going to be, the socks will probably come sooner than the hats, but the hats, it's not a trucker. It's not like this. So it's not like a flat bill trucker. It is a camp style hat, which I'm really excited about. It's going to be more athletic. So it's going to allow you to actually absorb sweat and let it evaporate quicker. It'll be more durable. You'll actually be able to wash it in a washing machine. It'll have an underbill with a print on it. So you can actually take photos underneath the bill and spread that. A lot of really amazing things. I'm super stoked on the hats and cannot wait to share them with you. So that will be a while. Once I get the prototype, I'll be able to take photos and show you guys and tease them some more. So just get ready for that. And then, yes, I get this all the time. When can we get buffs? There will be a new version of the buff coming out, a new design for 2015. I think it might just be an annual thing. I kind of like the idea of doing an annual buff, limited edition. I do one round a year. And maybe every year it's at the same time, maybe, you know, July or August or something, to kind of tail into fall, into winter, because it's a great winter piece of gear, but it's also great summer because you can shove ice in it. But there will be a 2015 design of the buff, which I'm excited about. I haven't designed it yet, but, you know, your guys' input is always appreciated. If there's anything you'd like to see or, you know, in that
people
kind of
are wondering if there's going to be a glue on ginger beard.
Oh man, I could just like continually shave my pubes and just sell that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they have those beard caps where you like wear a beanie and it has the beard attached to it. I've seen those. I just don't know how long I'm going to keep the beard, right? I don't know if the beard is going to always be a ginger runner thing.
It will always be there.
Oh, okay, Kim likes it, so I can't remove it. So yeah, that's just a teaser of what's to come to celebrate you guys and to thank you all for the continued support and to prove that you don't always have to be in the elite to make a difference in the sport and help get information out there and education and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's been a really fun ride. And I mean, Orcas was a great example of just the amount of people that came and said hi to us, or even on the trail, people saying, it's Ginger's lady. Or like, you know, like people,
I bought her for $1.
Yeah. No, it was really cute because I was wearing the train race beer trucker hat.
Right.
Yeah.
So lots of things to come this year. Both from Kim and I. Very, very excited to share. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, obviously, but just stick around. Don't go anywhere, I think is really what I'm saying, because there's lots of really cool stuff coming. Films, big projects that I can't even wrap my head around at this point because it's stressing me out, but like in a good way, in the best way possible. Yeah. And expect a quality increase across everything.
Except for sound.
Except for sound and internet. That'll always be real shitty. And I will be starting a Patreon very soon, which is going to help level up everything as well. And that is going to be probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks. For those of you not familiar, Patreon is a way for you guys to contribute on a micro scale. It's like a Kickstarter, but long-term. So rather than saying, oh, I need to raise $5,000 to buy a new piece of camera gear, it's I don't need anything, but if you guys want to donate $1 a month or something, that gets you additional privileges. And there will be different levels, really small levels. So it'll be like $1 or $2 or $5, really small per month. That will get you behind the scenes footage. Will get you personal Google Hangouts where we can talk for 30 minutes or whatever. You know, if you have any questions, or bring in actual coaches to help coach you on a one-on-one basis. You know, all sorts of really cool ideas, and that will be coming soon. And that's a great way for you guys to support, because, you know, YouTube videos aren't paying the rent. Really, the ads, they don't do anything. They really don't do anything. So to think of this as a long-term solution, it's just going to need to up the game. But that's a great way to also have perks to get back to you guys to get you more content, because I think that's what all of you want the most is more content, and that's what I want to provide is as much content as possible. So yeah, stuff to be excited about. But we're going to end the show and kind of just move into the post show because there's been a ton of questions in the chat room. I just want to kind of whip through those too, and I don't want to waste any more of the regular show time with that. Those of you who are watching live, thank you again. Those of you who have been watching live for the last 52 episodes, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you're getting out there training hard, racing harder, and partying the hardest. I know we are.
I am.
You just did this weekend.
Yeah.
And where can people?
The very, very hardest.
You did. Oh yeah, you were super sloppy drunk. Where can people find you? Social.
Instagram at Kimberley DT. Facebook.com/milelonglegs. Twitter is milelong_legs, and my website www.milelonglegs.com.
Yeah. And gingerrunner.com, the Ginger Runner on Facebook and Twitter, and at Ethan Newbrand on Instagram, youtube.com/the Ginger Runner. Subscribe. You're already watching it. Unless you're listening to it, then go subscribe. And the podcasts have been updated. Just got 2 more episodes to upload, and that's pretty much it. Catching up. That's pretty great. Let's move into the post show where we can just fucking party. All right. Thanks, guys. There was so much noise going into the end credits, and then I'm assuming it was just silent for a little bit. Excellent. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about the Orcas Island 50K, ask them now. I know that there was a lot. What shoes did you wear? I know you mentioned it in the chat, but some people missed it.
I wore the Pearl Azumi Trail N2s.
How'd they do?
They did fine. I mean, it's what I run in regularly on the North Shore. I run it in mud. I run it in snow. I run, they work great for me. I think, I mentioned all the slipping and sliding. I really don't think, there's probably very few shoes that people said did really well in it because I just, when you're dealing with mud that thick, it's a sloppy slop show.
You were not the only one wearing those shoes out there and said the exact same thing, that it actually they worked better than anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, just running through the mud a little bit, I was like, oh man, people are going to need cleats. It's so sloppy. But I actually did okay with the Superior 2.0s in some sections, which I wore as I was kind of running shorter sections. And then I switched to the Fellcross 3 for the Powerline climb. They worked incredibly well in the Powerline climb because that was a slide fest. But the Fellcross 3 were just like suction cups working my way up. So they were great there. I don't know if people switch shoes halfway through. I know there was drop bags at mile 20, which is that aid station right before the climb. So who knows?
I was happy with the shoe choice. They're my cozy shoes.
Cozy?
Tommy Faribaugh.
Yeah, Tommy.
Said, I came up on Kim and recognized her from her hair. I had that a few times of people calling me out from behind without even turning around.
Yep.
It's kind of funny. I think, Tommy, I met you after the race, I believe, as well.
Let's see.
Oh, there's been a couple questions about aid station food.
Yeah.
Aid station food was fine.
Oh, Trail Butter. Really great guy. I don't mean to interrupt. I know the Trail Butter was out there. Trail Butter is a Northwest nut butter company.
Nut butter, yeah.
A lot like Pocket Fuel. Trail Butter was out there. My mom tried it because my mom was volunteering at the aid station. She was like, what is this nut butter? I've never heard of it. I think she took a spoonful of it or something and ate it. And then every person that came in, she's like, you have got to try this. You have got to try this. And I think people started eating it pretty quickly right after that because my mom would not let them leave without eating it. Oh, I don't feel like peanut butter. Just eat it. Being a mom it was pretty adorable. But go ahead. Sorry. You know more about the aid station food than I do because I wasn't at the decision.
Oh, they had the wraps with the trail butter,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't usually partake in that. It's just not my jam on the runs.
Jam.
It's not my jam. Get it?
Peanut
Get
butter.
it? Peanut butter jam.
I'm gonna get another beer. Keep going.
They had candies, M&Ms, gummy bears.
Running.
Stop running. What else? Coke, ginger ale. I think they had another kind of pop there, but I can't remember what it was. Chips, all that good stuff. So they had big spreads at every aid station. I didn't really get a good look because I usually go for my my traditional things that I go for is usually Coke, ginger ale, a handful of gummy bears, chips, and then I'm on my way. So
I forgot. I wanted to drink this during the show as well. So I'm a big fan of Ballast Point Sculpin, but someone recommended Ballast Point has some other varieties of beer. This is the Indra Kunindra, a limited release India-style export stout. Let me read the description of this for those of you beer aficionados out there. This is crazy. Where is it? Stout with Madras curry, cumin, cayenne, coconut, and kaffir lime. Kefir? It's not kefir. It's it's not kefir. It's kaffir. Yeah. So let's give this a shot. I've been told that it tastes just like eating Indian curry, which that actually is not necessarily a selling point for me. But I was curious about this. This little guy, he's not working so well.
So people are asking about wearing gaiters for the race.
Oh yeah.
And actually, Tommy chimed in similar thing that I probably would have said. So Tommy said they probably would have got ripped off by the mud. Gaiters would not have helped. At times the mud was mid-calf deep, and that's very, very true.
Oh, smell that. That smells like curry.
That's not
This is going to be.
That's not my nut butter.
No, this is not your nut. This is not your jam.
Do you need a glass?
I got a glass.
Get a fresh glass for that.
No. That was really easy to drink.
Something's dripping.
It's just water. But get a glass, Justin, for yourself because you're going to want to try this.
Okay.
At one point I stepped in a puddle and it was just below my knee.
Yep. We had the same kind of thing. And the thing is when you were going to step down into the puddle, you had no idea how deep or shallow it's going to be.
Justin, son! Tilt it. Yeah, because it's a little bubbly. And tilt back.
And tilt back. And then just keep tilting.
Is that armpit beer?
This is not.
No.
This is food beer. Oh, man, that is...
Whoa. Oh, it smells like a sour.
That is probably the most interesting beer I've ever tasted. It tastes like curry.
It definitely tastes like curry.
Every flavor that they described on there, I taste every flavor distinctly. Wow.
It's like a sour stout.
Ginger Runner.
What?
What was your favorite Ginger Runner live moment or episode from the
That's
last
what I wanted to talk
episodes?
about in the post show.
Well,
Yes.
we're post show now.
Yeah,
People
totally.
are asking what was your favorite moment.
So I was thinking about this all day. Ginger Miss. I'm going to say it was Ginger Miss because Gary Robbins was a guest I had very early on in the Ginger Runner Live archive. If you go back, I think it's episode 3 or 4. One of the first guests to talk about Squamish and all that kind of stuff. But the tech side of things failed miserably. I was still... So there's the cat. A big part of why I'm limited tech-wise on what I can do, only because I don't have 13 laptops, 15 Skype account, like all this stuff. So I was kind of troubleshooting technology and what would work because I needed to live stream. I didn't want to pre-record it. I wanted to live stream with guest or guests. So it needed to be plural in high quality, both video and audio wise. And it needed to be on YouTube because that way the archive is instant. So people can go back and watch the episode right away. That whole tech version with Gary Robbins was terrible. It sucked. I felt terrible for bringing Gary on and wasting his time. So with Ginger Miss, it was a great way to bring Gary back on. The technology was dialed in at that point. I was at your house. I was happy with the set decoration in the background. I thought it was really cool. It was very Christmassy. But what I loved about it was how much involvement you guys took on yourselves to and you were a part of it as well. Going out there and running and spelling GR and around the globe, like seeing Amsterdam.
Fun.
It was so fun. It was so neat. That whole week leading up to it, I was just having a blast. I forgot to buy Christmas gifts for family and friends.
I got nothing.
Yeah, Kim got nothing except a hug and an apology. But it was really cool to see how much you guys came together and just kind of spread, not necessarily the episode, but helped spread kind of this, the idea to get out and run and have fun doing it during the holidays and not making it all about stress or, buying gifts or any of that kind of stuff. Just getting out and having fun.
Sorry to interrupt you. There's a serious question in the chat room from Gary Robbins.
Oh.
How does technology work?
Light bulbs and magnets. There's a great song by Insane Clown Posse. You should go check it out. Really, really talented group that has a great song that explains technology.
Ginger Miss. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I got to go through all the entries with you too,
Mm-hmm.
and that was fun. We had a really good time.
There's
with
so
you.
many
It's like looking
entries
at them.
that we had to add up all the points, and I had Kim do a spreadsheet. We had to add them up all correctly, and I mean, I couldn't believe how many points people had accumulated by adding that addition of a point per mile run. The points were, 40 points higher than I ever thought they would be, and the involvement was huge. So it was really neat, and to get Gary back and actually have no technological issues, and be able to give away awesome gear, over $1,000 worth of prizes for people just for participating, was really, really fun. So that was probably my favorite moment from the last year.
Yeah, and I mean, anytime I get to do a spreadsheet, it's going to be a favorite moment.
Yeah, I think you had a blast doing that. I remember seeing the smile on your face. Might have been from the booze, but snap. Some amazing guests. I mean, one of my favorite parts of Ginger Runner Live is getting that confirmation email back from someone who I'm a huge fan of. Like Dean Carnassus, getting that email back saying like, "Oh, can I be on your show?" Like really wanting to be a part of it. Ben Gibbard wanting to come on the show and having a really good time doing it.
Ellie
Greenwood.
She's like one of my favorites.
Getting that confirmation from her was like, I just got the best runner on the planet. Like, getting that email is probably one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And I'm still, I mean, this year I'm like, I want to go big. I got to get the big guests and get the unknown stories and get the, yes, I want to get the elites, but I also want to get the people maybe you haven't heard of and stuff like that. And getting those confirmation emails is going to continue to be something I look forward to. And I'm going to have to bring you in as someone to help me out with that, because, I don't ever want to like wait to the last minute to ask guests on, and it's always difficult. But I like to plan ahead. Next week we have Ian Sharman, an incredible athlete, a coach, runner. A guy's been around forever and is amazing. And he will come on next week, and I can't wait to pick his brain.
Eric Alvarez says Rob Carr. That was a
Rob Carr
to have on the show.
That was another one of those gets where Rob has reached out a couple of times, and I remember the first time he private messaged me on Twitter. I think I tweeted something at 3 or 4 in the morning because I was still working, and he direct messaged and he's like, "Why are you still working?" And I was like, "Oh my God, Rob Carr just asked why I'm still working at 4 a.m. Do I respond now or do I wait 8 hours? Do I be coy about it and wait 8 hours and then respond back? I'd be like, oh, just working, something real coy." I responded right away. I was like, "Hi, how are you? My name is Ethan. Can we be best friends?" All that kind of stuff. But to have him on the show is like, pretty awesome. My word's good. Awesome, good. And Sage Canaday. Sage is another one of those guys I respect because he's doing what I'm doing in the sense that, well,
Did you
on different
you
spectrums.
had him on your show, yeah?
Yeah.
Somebody's saying, "I'd love to see you get Canaday."
Oh, I've had Sage
on. On your show.
I've had Sage on, and I'm going to have him on again, just because I think he's an incredible dude. He is one of the best ultra runners in the world and best marathoners too. I mean, he's incredibly fast. He comes from a road background and just is dominating some trail scene right now, and is really diligent about training. He puts it all out there, and that's what I admire about him. It doesn't keep anything hidden. He lays it out. You can go follow him on Strava and see all his training leading up for the Olympic qualifying time, and a lot of his races and all of his training for his races. And he also is doing YouTube. He's on YouTube doing the grind. It's not easy. You don't make a lot of money. You just have to be consistent and put content out on a regular basis and hope that people watch it and like it, and hope that you continue to grow, because eventually you can pay rent with it. And he's doing that. He is doing the diligent amount of work and on top of training, and it's awesome to see that. So I really admire Sage, and I can't wait to get him back on. He's dominating races right now. Hope to get him maybe before or after LA Marathon, where he hopes to get his qualifying time. I should write him an email tonight, now that I think about it.
Here, I'll just text him.
Love Varner anytime he on. Alex Varner.
He's a good
hilarious
time.
Dude. Good time. Will usually drink more than me during the show, but the guy can put down.
And anytime we see
on
him,
the race.
We always have to go home and go to bed way before he does.
Yeah. 16 mimosas later, dude, Alex, we gotta go.
We gotta go.
We're just getting started, guys. It's like 8 a.m. Come on, let's do this. And then he goes out and rips a 15-miler in 60 minutes or something. The guy is incredibly fast. Oh, this says, "Please stand by, experiencing technical difficulties." Is anyone else getting that?
Nobody has said so.
No one has said anything?
yet.
Are we still getting comments through there?
Yep. Just got a comment.
Yeah,
just
me
now.
too. No. Okay, cool. Tony Kaprichka is another one of those. So here's the thing, guys. This is absolutely where you can help. Tony doesn't necessarily tweet a lot or Facebook a lot, but if someone that you want to see on the show is on Twitter, tweet both of us, right? And that's happened multiple times. It actually happened with Ian Sharman. Someone tweeted Ian Sharman and me and was like, hey, Ian, you need to go on Ginger Runner Live. And Ian reached out and was like, anytime. And I was like, anytime. And we got the date settled and it's next Monday. So if you know of a runner, make sure that I haven't brought him on or her. There's a lot of females out there. Casey Lichtig, I would love to get on the show. I think she's super talented.
I have like a wish list of women that I would like to get on
then
the show.
let's do that. Yeah, let's get that because obviously in my mind, I'm like, oh, I just list off guys' names, but there's so many females that are just incredible. Like Ellie Greenwood is a perfect example.
Lauren Fleshman.
Lauren
Kara
Fleshman would be
Goucher.
amazing. Kara Goucher would be amazing. And there's no reason that we can't get him on the show.
Yeah.
So anything you could do, tweet them and tweet me and maybe even
Mhm.
Kim and just kind of like, hey, do that introduction. And the more people that do that, the better. And if there's somebody that we just can't get or we're having a hard time figuring out how to contact, we can do just like a mass tweeting.
Mhm.
Not that they'd like that, but it could be a way to do it where one week we go, hey, everyone, tweet Kara Goucher at the same time and say, go on Ginger Runner Live. Maybe at that point they'd actually listen because they're busy.
Yeah.
When they're at that level, they're constantly busy.
And they have families and all that other kind of stuff to take care of too, right?
Tony not tweeting well. Well, that's a surprise. Yeah, Tony, I think Tony is much more involved in getting better on the trails and mountains and skimo and basically going outside and ripping it up out there than he is interested at all in coming on some internet show. So he would be an incredible guest just because I would really like to pick his brain and meet him and find out how he does what he does. But, yeah, Meb, people are talking about Meb. Ever consider filming a regular training run to show what an everyday training run is like? I've done that.
Yeah.
So warm-up cakes or warm pancakes.
Warm-up cakes.
Warm-up cakes. My Squamish series, I did 5 episodes of training for Squamish 50/50. Those are all regular training days leading up to that. So go watch those. I also did the 10-mile hyperlapse, and that is a 10-mile run I filmed every step of and just sped it up. So I've done it. I've done it multiple times, but I will do more of it.
Robbie Aron says, what about a special KRL with Kimberly talking with someone on the wish list?
We've talked about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. What else here?
This is nuts, by the way.
I think that
you want to taste it?
No.
Just taste it.
It's so
spicy.
It's spicy.
It just
Don't
smells
smell
like
it. Just taste it.
food.
It does smell like food.
It tastes like food. It is food. It's beer.
Yeah,
It's
but I
beer.
don't like drinking my food.
You had Tailwind this weekend.
Yeah.
Ginger, any interest in getting track athletes? Yeah, always. There's a number of track athletes that I follow on Twitter because their personalities are incredible. They're really outgoing and they talk a lot of shit, and I think it's really interesting. Yeah, if there's a track athlete that you admire or someone that's doing incredible things and has a really great story, I'm all about it for sure. And track is just one of those things that I participated in as a young adult. And junior high and high school was in the track league and doing as much as I could on the track. But now that I'm doing more ultras and marathons and road marathons and stuff, obviously I'm just more removed from that world. Doesn't mean I can't bring on guests because they always inspire and they work out hard. What's deeper, Ginger's V or the Orcas Island mud?
That's a tough call.
Yeah, it's a tough call.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah, and that's actually depending on the V because this isn't the deepest V I have.
It is not.
No.
This deep V goes down to the belly button.
Could be comparable. It goes down to the butt.
Belly button.
Oh, it goes down to the butt, the backside,
Like a wraparound.
the backside V. It's the curry for those with their jaws wired.
Liquid curry.
Liquid curry, yeah.
Get it? You get it?
Michael Arnstein, please. Yep, Arnstein is one of those I want to bring on to talk about fruitarianism. Really, really interesting guy. Comes from a really interesting background. Now lives in Hawaii and just killed Hurt 100. Just destroyed it after a year or two off from ultra running, but dominates. Dominates.
Tommy's asking how the tailwind did for me. He said it worked great for him. Yeah, I didn't actually talk about this on the show, but regardless of my DNF, this was one of my really first successful races in the way of nutrition and anxiety. and that's something we didn't
Kinda
really
nice-
touch on during
nice
the
body
show. So yeah, the tailwind worked perfectly for me, and my nutrition was spot on.
Did you stick with that only?
Tailwind only, and then Coke, ginger ale, gummy bears, and like a handful of chips at the aid station. That's
Nice.
it. Yeah. So that was a big win.
What did I didn't pick anything from an aid station because I didn't want to be that guy. People just see a guy with the camera, then walk over and just eat a bunch of food from the aid station.
I'm
didn't
so
know how to do
hungry
that.
standing here.
I used Pocket Fuel Chocolate Haze because that stuff is addicting. And
Matt and Carrie are in the chat room.
Hey!
Hi.
Matt
Sorry.
and Carrie, co-race directors and part of the Rain Shadow running crew are in the chat room. Thanks,
Just
guys.
people we love in general.
Yeah, just good people. Good people.
Gary Robbins says, I get more stuck in Ethan's V than I did in the Orcas mud.
Oh, hey.
Sounds about right.
Louis Dora Savard, probably pronouncing that totally incorrectly. Ruby Muir, watch her Vibram short film. It's beautiful. Yeah, I remember Ruby when her film came out, and she just totally decimated Tarawera this last weekend. She's got a crazy story coming back from injury with the quad muscle ripping and then essentially dying, and her having to build up the 7 remaining quad muscles, plus
We were just talking about
a number of issues that she ran into last year, and then coming back and winning. Excuse me, Tarawera this last weekend is an incredible story. When we deal with international athletes, like Killian is one of those athletes, he's kind of the dream athlete to get on the show. We're dealing with time difference restraints. So he's obviously, he's from Spain, but he could be in any country at any given time. And it would really be a matter of trying to find his schedule and working out a time and hoping that he's in a location that has decent Wi-Fi. It can get a signal to even broadcast live to the show. But who knows? Maybe there will be a race that I'm at that he's also at that I can get him in the same room and we can talk. I've met him twice, very briefly, and he's just the nicest guy. It was very, very short, brief meeting. He's like, "Hey, I'm a big fan of yours. I think you do really incredible things." And him saying, "Thank you," and that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori Hall was just talking about Tailwind. Sorry, just to kind of go back to nutrition for a second. So I've tried Tailwind, but can't seem to drink enough to get enough in me. Do you mix it stronger? I do mix it a little bit stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I mix it right in my bladder. I actually do about 800 calories in
A 40 ounce. I think we do 40. It's a 50 ounce bladder, but I think you do about 10 ounces less.
40. Yeah. So I do mix it a little bit stronger. And I've mixed it more concentrated when I've done bottles as well, just so I don't get too much liquid bloat going on in my stomach.
Right.
So you may want to just play around with the concentration. It's worked well for me.
Yeah, I've done a number of various thickness solutions of Tailwind. I find that 250 to 300 calories per 20 ounce bottle works for me, depending on the heat though. If it's a hotter day, I'll do less calories and more liquid in there. It's going to be a fine balance, and getting out there and training and testing it out. You might need to supplement it with actual food like a nut butter or a gel or aid station food, fruit. I do that. I supplement in addition calories. Ethan, there's a Born to Run movie coming out with Matthew McConaughey. Have him on the show. I've met him, and I wonder if that video is still online.
It
is. If you search, what is it called? If you go to YouTube and search Matthew McConaughey, oh God, I'm gonna try something here, guys. I don't mean to do it. Matthew McConaughey, Ethan Newberry. Let's just see if that video pops up. Obey McConaughey. That is what it is. Obey McConaughey. That is not the video where I actually interview Matthew McConaughey. By the way, I called him Matt by accident.
That's a big mistake.
That's what he said.
Don't do that.
No, I made the mistake. When I first met him, I knew I was going to meet him. I was doing an interview with him with my good friend Lindsay. We were doing we were doing a gig with Samsung where we were going to various cool events. That's actually where I met Dean Karnassus for the first time. I introduced him at a thing, and he still remembers that. But that's where I met Matthew McConaughey for the first time. And when I went up to him, I was like, "Play it cool. Be cool with Matthew McConaughey," because he's kind of a cool guy. So I went up and I was like, "Hey, Matt, good to meet you." And he goes, "Never call me Matt. Only my mom calls me Matt. My name is Matthew." That was my first introduction with with Matthew. So at that point, it was like, oh yes, Matthew, yes, of course. Okay, sorry, we have some questions, and I'm going to film it like this and do it this. So that interview is online. That moment isn't, but the interview that I filmed of him and Lindsay and myself is online. If you search for it with Samsung, I believe. But Obey McConaughey is something that little sketch video that I did on my sketch video channel. Get him on the show would be amazing.
Hyper Kooky is wondering, any chance of getting Shay on your show?
I have tried to get.
There's been actually a couple people talking about Shay Carl.
Shay Carl is awesome, and he's so busy now with his new clothing line and moving because he lives in Idaho now. His family and the New York Marathon was this huge crazy thing. The guy is not. There is never a dull second in his life. He is constantly working. I have tried so many times to get him on the show, and he's dropped into the chat room numerous times. If you watch an episode, you might even hear me say, "Oh, Shay's in the chat room. What's going on, Shay?" And then he just disappears because he has a family. He's got a lot of kids, and he's very, very busy. My goal is to sit that man down and talk to him because he's got a really good story as well. Losing so much weight, running the LA Marathon, doing incredibly well, putting the weight back on, but then losing it again, and running the New York Marathon this last year. And he's training for another one, plus additional events. Super inspiring, really, really nice dude, and was nice enough to invite me along for the New York Marathon ride this last year, which I'm
super really nice guy.
Yeah, really nice guy. Yeah, Scott Jurek, another great example. Yeah, yep. You guys can continue to list names, and it's all yes. It's all yes. He didn't become friends with him because he thought it was cool. Yeah. He was talking about how I became friends with Matthew McConaughey before Matthew McConaughey was Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, yeah. You didn't become friends with him to make a statement.
I will
Ginger
say
just liked it.
I will. Next time I meet Matthew McConaughey, he would have no idea who I am. I'm one of 1,000 reporters that interviewed him that day. I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's no way he would ever remember. That's it. I think we should just continue the party offline. You guys are, again, incredible for continuing to watch Ginger Runner Live. 52 episodes deep now. Technically 53 with the pilot episode, which is just not even worth the time.
Huge congrats to you for staying consistent and doing your shows wherever we're traveling.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Giving back to your viewers, and just, it's a lot of work. And seriously, huge congratulations. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's a great year.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I wouldn't have it any other way because this is really cool. I think the best thing happened. I think this is really cool. I get a kick out of this. And
pink belly.
I'm a mid-packer. I'm not extraordinary. Totally ordinary. And every time I meet you guys, I'm inspired. Anyone that ran Orcas this last weekend, I'm inspired. It's pretty cool. And I will continue to create Ginger Runner Live on a weekly basis. I'm not going to let traveling ruin it. If I'm in another city, we find internet somewhere, we make it work. And that's kind of part of it because I value this, and I value our time together, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from. Trolls and regular people alike, doesn't matter. It's all part of it. It's all part of the experience. So thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for continuing to make my life really, really good. Really, really good. It's been a pretty fucking awesome last 4 years with this stuff. And the last year alone has been amazing. So
for sure.
Lots to look forward to, including
socks,
these hats. And someone asked about having a Ginger Runner race. I don't think I could do the job of race directors because they work hard. Not that I'm not going to work hard.
You're so lazy.
There have been a number of ideas floating around that I probably won't reveal. Maybe it's the post show, doesn't matter. But like having running, okay. One of them is possibly doing a virtual race where anyone around the world can participate. And for the entrance fee, you just get a bunch of gear. You get a bunch of gear, a certificate, like a finisher's medal and stuff like that. But everyone has to log it in, and we'll track it, and we'll pick winners based off of times and stuff like that through what's going on.
Gary says you have to end with double guns.
You. Well, I wasn't ready then. I'm not okay. Yeah, that's it. That's it for the teasers and stuff like that. Stuff to come. You guys are amazing. Thank you very much. And Gary Robbins, congrats on your 5th place.
Amazing.
You look way better in a ginger beard than I do. That's it. Get out there, train hard, race hard, party hardest. Hope you guys are doing that.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. We're going to see you guys next time. I gotta figure out how to stop the broadcast.